11:32 a.m., November 29th, 1943. High above Northern Europe, 24,000 feet, the sky explodes. A burst of German 20mm cannon fire tears through the belly of a B-17 flying fortress. Metal folds like paper. Windows vanish in a storm of shattered plexiglass. Engines scream. Smoke floods the fuselage. Then the impossible happens. The bomber breaks apart. The entire tail section rips away from the rest of the aircraft, spinning violently through the freezing air. Inside that broken tail compartment sits 19-year-old Staff Sergeant Eugene Moran. He cannot escape. Cannon shells have shattered both of his arms. Blood freezes against his flight suit in the sub-zero wind. His parachute is damaged beyond use. The aircraft around him is no longer an airplane. It is twisted aluminum falling nearly 5 miles toward the earth. Every law of war and every law of physics says he is already dead. Yet the nightmare is only beginning. German fighters continue circling the wreckage, searching for anything still alive. The tail section tumbles end over end. Instruments rip loose. Ammunition boxes crash across the floor. Every violent rotation threatens to tear the wreck apart completely. Somewhere below, fields, forests, and villages rush closer every second. There is no pilot, no controls, no rescue. Only a wounded tail gunner trapped inside a collapsing coffin in the sky. Every passing moment brings the ground closer, while the shattered aircraft continues its helpless descent through the freezing air. How can anyone survive a fall from 24,000 feet inside half an airplane? How can a man whose arms are shattered continue fighting while plummeting towards certain death? The questions seem impossible. Every instinct says the story should end in the clouds. Yet what happens next challenges everything people think they know about survival. The answers sound like fiction, but they are preserved in wartime records and eyewitness accounts from one of the most astonishing survival stories of the Second World War. Eugene Moran's unbelievable ordeal has become a testament to endurance against impossible odds. But this story doesn't begin at 24,000 feet. It begins long before the sky tears apart. Only months earlier, Eugene Moran is living a life far removed from the battlefield of Europe. Raised on a Wisconsin farm, he grows up understanding hard work, freezing winters, and responsibility long before adulthood. Like thousands of young Americans after Pearl Harbor, he leaves home to serve his country. The Army Air Forces train him as a tail gunner, one of the most dangerous jobs in the skies. The position offers almost no protection. Alone inside the narrow rear compartment of the B-17, the tail gunner watches the formation's most vulnerable direction. Every German fighter knows the bomber's tail is its weakest point. Moran knows the odds. Still, he climbs aboard every mission without hesitation, fully aware that every flight could be his last. By late 1943, Allied bombing raids are pushing deeper into Nazi-controlled Europe. Every mission means hours inside bitterly cold skies where temperatures plunge far below zero. Oxygen masks freeze. Machine guns jam. Enemy fighters wait for the bombers to cross the coast. On November 29, 1943, Moran's crew joins another daylight mission over occupied Europe, flying in tight formation with dozens of other B-17 flying fortresses. Instead, waves of Messerschmitt Bf-109s and Focke-Wulf FW-190s attack again and again. The air fills with tracer fire. Bombers burn. Parachutes blossom across the sky. Then enemy cannon shells slam directly into Moran's aircraft. The explosion destroys the rear fuselage. The bomber literally breaks in two. Moran feels a violent snap as the tail separates from the rest of the airplane. Cannon fragments smash both of his arms. Pain overwhelms him, yet instinct takes over. Despite catastrophic injuries, he remains at his guns, firing bursts at attacking fighters while shattered tail spins helplessly toward the earth. The descent seems endless. Wind howls through the broken metal. Loose equipment disappears into the empty sky. Every second should be his last. Yet something extraordinary happens. The twisted tail section begins creating enough drag to slow its fall. Instead of plunging straight down, it drifts and tumbles, reducing the speed just enough to make survival possible. Miles below, the wreck crashes into frozen countryside with tremendous force. Local civilians race toward the smoking debris, expecting to find only bodies. Instead, they discover movement. Against every expectation, Eugene Moran is still alive, gravely wounded, barely conscious, but alive. His survival stuns everyone who sees the wreckage. Doctors cannot explain it. Airmen cannot believe it. Even decades later, veterans continue describing the event as one of the greatest miracles of aerial combat during World War II. When the fighting finally ends, Eugene Moran carries more than medals or memories home with him. He carries proof that the human spirit can endure situations no one believes possible. The wounds he suffers remain with him long after the war. Constant reminders of mourning when a bomber disappears beneath him and the sky itself becomes a battlefield. Yet he survives an event that should have ended his life thousands of feet above Europe. Stories like Moran's rarely become as famous as great battles or celebrated generals. They unfold in seconds, yet their impact lasts for generations. They survive through eyewitness testimony, military records, and the memories of those who refuse to let extraordinary courage be forgotten. His experience becomes one of the most remarkable survival stories of the Second World War. For every headline about bombers reaching their targets, there are countless untold stories of the young men inside them. Farm boys, factory workers, students who face impossible odds with remarkable determination. Eugene Moran is one of those men. He never sets out to become a legend. He simply does what duty demands, even when survival seems impossible. His story is not simply about surviving a fall. It is about refusing to surrender when every possibility of survival disappears. A shattered airplane becomes a lifeboat. A wounded tail gunner continues fighting after his world literally breaks apart. Against every expectation, he reaches the ground alive, proving that courage can exist even in the darkest moments. World War II is filled with acts of extraordinary bravery. But every so often, history records something even rarer, a moment so unbelievable that it challenges our understanding of what the human body and spirit can endure. Eugene Moran's survival stands among those moments, inspiring generations long after the guns fall silent. The bomber falls. The sky grows silent. Yet the story of Eugene Moran continues to echo through history, reminding us that true heroism is not always measured by victories or medals. Sometimes it is measured by the determination to keep fighting when all hope is gone. Some men don't just survive history. They redefine what survival means.